Okay, class, we're back again. We're now looking at the cortical sensory areas. Okay, we have the primary somatosensory cortex, which we showed before. Remember, the primary somatosensory cortex was this homunculus. It was in the postcentral gyrus. Okay, we have that. We have the somatosensory association cortex, which is here. Now, let me kind of explain that. Okay. You feel something, okay, I feel, but I don't know what it is. Something just touched my foot. I'm trying to figure out if it's a pencil or an ink pen or a stick pen. So this kind of interprets what you felt. See, this gives the location, this primary, but what you felt, I need to know. So I'm trying to interpret it. That's what's holding this. That's what that association area is. Association areas basically are interpretation areas in sensory. Okay. So let me go back. What else do we have here? So then we have the visual and auditory areas. Auditory is lateral. Okay. Auditory is lateral. 41, like up in here. These areas here, 41, 42. That's in the, because that's where the ears are. Remember, temple. Visual is at the back. See, visual is back here. Okay. Some of it is the primary visual area where you actually see, and then what did you see? See, the association area is always close by. In sensory, you need to know it's there, but then what the heck is it? To know it's there, but what the heck is it? The association area says, what the heck is it? Okay. Then we have olfactory, smell areas, which is generally more in the front there. 34, I can find it there. Let's see. Let's go to the inner area. Where's my inner area here? Okay. And so when we're looking at it, see 34, that's on that inner area there. Okay. Gustatory is taste, that's in the insula. Remember that lobe that was hidden back there? Then the visceral cortex for pain in your intestines or whatever. Vestibular is for balance. For balance. All right. So this is what you saw. This. Okay. Then the primary somatosensory cortex, located in the postcentral gyrus. Primary somatosensory. Okay. Receives information from the skin and skeletal muscles. Exhibits spatial discrimination. There you are, spatial discrimination. Okay. Okay, so we go further. Somatosensory association area, located posterior to that, integrates sensory information, forms comprehensive understanding of the stimulus. Something touched me. What was it? Determines size, texture, and relationship of parts. Okay. So we go further. The visual area, primary visual cortex in the back, seen on the extreme posterior tip of the occipital lobe. Most of it is buried in the calcarine sulcus, which is here. That's the calcarine sulcus. Little indentation. Remember, so receives visual from the retinas. Retinas where you see from. Visual association area surrounds that. And again, that surrounding, that interprets what you saw. Okay. All right. Auditory area. Primary auditory areas. Okay, let's go back. Auditory. See, auditory is out here. Then you have a primary auditory, and then surrounding it, what did you hear? What did you interpret? Auditory association areas. Then you got the olfactory cortex, located on the mealy of the temporal lobe. Okay. It's also called the rhinencephalon. Let's go here. Rhinencephalon. Temporal lobe. Rhinencephalon. Smell is the oldest thing out there evolutionarily. Oldest thing out there. Most of the rhine has, as a result of, has become associated with the limbic system. The limbic system in the brain is your pain and pleasure system. Your pain and pleasure. Aromas and things of this nature. Sensual aromas and all this stuff like that. The insula, remember that was that hidden area. Gustatory, taste cortex is on the insula. Visceral is on the insula. Visceral located, involved in awareness of full bladder, upset stomach. Vestibular, difficult to pin down its location. That's the balance area. Okay. Now, we have what we call the multimodal association areas. What? The multimodal. Okay, let's think on this. Each sense had its association area. Vision. You saw something, what is it? Association. You tasted something, what is it? You smelled something, association area, what is it? So all of them had their interpretation areas. But you use all of your senses to evaluate something. So the brain needed an area which could coordinate all the senses and make a full and complete meaning out of what it was in sensation. So the pure motor, pure sensory, and they are concerned with only one sensory input. But how do we put all of it together? And that's what we call the multimodal, which will be in the prefrontal cortex, anterior association area, posterior association area, and limbic system, pain and pleasure. Okay, so here, I'm going to call this the posterior association area, which would be this area kind of back here. That's the posterior association area, kind of circled all that there. Okay, and that's your posterior one. Okay, let's say. So when we look at this, here's the limbic association cortex located in the cingulate hippocampus, provides emotional sense to what inputs we have. Okay, in that area there. So when we look at everything, we got these association areas. Let's kind of go back. Located anterior portion of frontal lobe involved with intellect. So up here, this is what I was trying to show. Up in here is that anterior association area, which would do intellect, cognition, recall, personality, necessary for judgment, reasoning, and so forth. Okay. Posterior association area takes up most of the temporal, occipital, and parietal. Come back here. Cortex. Identification and interpretation. So back here, this is where identification and interpretation from all the areas, your senses that are involved, would go. That front association area is more in intellect, developing new ideas, developing new concepts, things of this nature there. What makes you a human over above the other animals. This back one here, association area, multimodal, is more or less to interpret what you identify and interpret things. Interpret. So in other words, Joe comes up with a new plan, a new idea. How do I interpret it? That's that. But he came up with the idea. You didn't. Who came up with it? He did. You didn't. But if you came up with the idea, where would it have originated? Up here, in the intelligence area. But now you're trying to understand it. You just went to a new place that had been designed, some new fancy technology, Apple, IBM, and they designed it, and you're trying to understand it. You're trying to put it all together based upon touching the computer, doing this and everything. But they came up with it. Here is you working for Apple or Apple or IBM, Hewlett Packard, and you're coming up with some new design, some new technology. That would be up here, the intellect area. Back here is you interpreting something else, something that's existing, making meaning out of it. Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea. These association areas. Okay, the limbic association area involves putting the emotions with it. Now I'm going to bring something up here real quick. The easiest thing to remember something if there is an emotional involvement. In other words, if it's just visual, auditory or something, and you saw something, this and that, you'd remember it for a while. But if you actually had an emotional, if your mom died or your dad died or something emotional happened, when it goes into that limbic system, it's almost there forever. Even if you get Alzheimer's, you rarely forget that. Even if you get Alzheimer's, that limbic association area is awesome because it gives an emotional sense to things. It gives more memory to things that have occurred. Think about it sometimes on things you remember. Okay, and the hippocampus is part of that limbic aspect. Okay, so with the multimodal association areas, this is kind of what you're looking at. I call it putting it together. Drop a bottle of acid on a chemistry lab floor and it splashes on you. See it. That's the visual cortex. Okay, you see it drop. You hear it. The glass broke. You feel it because that burn occurred with that acid hitting you. But the multimodal puts it all together. It puts it all together. It says, I dropped a glass of acid on the floor and it hurts, basically. You put the whole story together. Okay? Now, when we get to what we call lateralization of cortical function, this is something that each hemisphere has abilities not shared with its counterpart partner. That means the other hemisphere. Cerebral dominance designates the hemisphere dominant for language. Left hemisphere generally controls language, math, and logic. Left brain person. Right controls being able to draw, sing, and things of this nature, more artistic. And then 10% have them reversed. Now the lucky person is kind of co-dominant on both sides. That's the one that can do a lot of stuff. Nothing's in stone. Nothing's in stone with this brain. Okay. So we go further. The cerebral white matter. So we're going to start on that next. But I'm going to start another video. See, the white matter are the myelinated neurons coming from the cortex. What am I saying? The white matter, which is this here, see, that's where the cell bodies are for all these things we've been talking about. And then the white matter is those cell bodies lead into a myelinated neuron. So we're going underneath the cortex to kind of show you where our next video is coming. Okay, which is this here. To show you another way. See, that's where those cells, now I'm coming down here. All right, but anyway, let's start another video.